Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Connections, the Heart of Early Childhood podcast. I'm Shara Foster,
And I'm Becca Despain.
and it is our absolute pleasure today to welcome two very special guests with us.
Yes, thank you both so much for joining us. We would love to begin by learning more about you and your role. Please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do. So we're going to start with Dr. Angela Redondo.
Hi there. Yes, I'm Dr. Angela Redondo. I'm an assistant professor of early childhood multicultural education at New Mexico Highlands University, and I am preparing to take over as the president of NMAEYC here in July. I'm very excited about that. Um, I have been in the field for 24 or 5 years. It's a while. Most of my career, I've been in early childhood in some capacity. I've worked pretty much the whole span, birth to age 8. The only grade I didn't teach was first grade. And I've worked with t parents and teachers, and now pre-service teachers. So very excited
Oh,
to be a part of
welcome.
the community. Yeah.
We are happy to have you. And now, Alicia. Is it Alicia or Alicia? I probably should have asked you that before we started. I'm so sorry.
Hey, I pronounce it Alicia. My last name is Borrego. I am the executive director of NMAEYC, going on almost 7 years now. Prior to that, um, I came from arts and culture, so I spent 17 years working in museums. And my experience in early childhood really kind of stems from my experience at the museums, where we call education in the museum field informal education, as opposed to formal education. Because people go and they're on their own terms, right? So they're learning informally in a very different setting than in a classroom. In my 17 years, we always offered early childhood programs. Actually, we did cradle through career, but early childhood was always the most popular. So lots of experience on the informal side of early childhood education. Um, Worked for a community action agency in Farmington, New Mexico for about 3 years. And with that particular program, we ran food banks, and we actually had a preschool that served San Juan. And ultimately ended up here at NMAEYC. I've been here for 7 years and happy to provide the services that we do to our early childhood communities.
Oh, awesome. Well, we are so glad to have both of you here with us and to tell our listeners a little bit about NMAEYC and hopefully get some educators involved who might not already be, interacting with us. So, for those that might not be familiar, would one of you please share the mission of NMAEYC and talk a little bit about who we serve?
Yeah, I can hop in. So our mission is the actual mission is posted on our website. So if anybody wants to look there, but I'll just kind of summarize that in that we provide direct support services and programs to early childhood educators, childcare providers, and families across the state of New Mexico.
And I mean, I would like to just expand on that as well, Alicia. I feel that um, for for me and MAYC, really, the mission is really advancing excellence in early childhood education across our state. We really provide support to a wide range of professionals, right? It's not just the teachers in the classrooms, but me as a higher ed faculty member, directors, coaches, home-based providers. It's really about the advocacy, I think, for me that I pride myself being a part of an organization that we really advocate for the field as a whole, right? And it's such a big, it's such a big field and lots of different components. But yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it is a very overarching field, right? When you think about early childhood. How is NMAYEC supporting educators who are working in the rural or under-resourced communities?
Well, so like Angela said, and when I kind of abbreviate what our mission is, those programs and support services that we provide include everything from advocacy, professional development, membership, and even in some cases, accreditation. So those are what I kind of like umbrella together as programs, and our services would be any resources that we provide to them. And we are funded fully off grant funding and a little bit of revenue that we do with our annual conferences. But with that funding, we go into the rural communities and tribal areas and offer no cost. It's no cost to these communities, and it's a professional development. And we do that all year long.
Yeah, and being someone that lives in a rural community and works at a rural regional university, I feel like a few years ago, we as an organization started offering regional conferences in addition to our state annual conference. And I feel like that has just really opened a lot of access and opportunities for the more rural parts of our state, and really, the building those partnerships with the universities that also service those areas. The other thing I feel like we do is, through those conferences and of course our resources and different workshops and things like that, is that we really build community connections, right? Those peer networks. One of my favorite things is going to the NMAYC conference every year and seeing people that I've worked with in the capacity of my, entire career in some way, shape, or form. Just really connecting with others. There's just like this great energy, and it really helps me as a rural community member. And, again, just in my role as a faculty member, feel less isolated and really just, you know, um, feel re-energized, I guess, with that positive energy that our conference really brings. So I think that for me, that's really, important.
Absolutely. I love that. I think that's my favorite part too about NMAYC and just building those relationships, making those connections, and not only getting to see everybody at the annual conference, but now at regional conferences too, and other events and things that we have going on around the state. So, for those that might not have already become involved, how might they learn about these opportunities that we have happening?
You can learn about it a couple different ways. We, I was just asked this question. I went before, I had a presentation in front of a funder 2 days ago, and they asked the same question. And what I told them is that, we do a couple different approaches. We have a direct outreach where we literally will outreach, phone calls, emails, newsletters to the contacts that we already have in all those communities. And we do. And take, if I went back through our attendance sheets, we're serving every county in New Mexico. And we met and made those connections, right, with a lot of these people. So it's been very easy for us to kind of reconnect with them and tell them what we're doing and what we're going to be doing next. And then there's this indirect approach where we send out a newsletter twice a month, and that goes to almost 4,000 people. And they can find out about everything that we're doing there and just kind of redirect them to our website, which is like the hub of everything that NMAYC does.
And I think too, social media as well. We have a presence on social media, and that's definitely important in this day and age. All of us are connected with social media in some capacity, and so I think that that also is a way that professionals can get involved. And just again to reiterate, I just think that it really by being involved, it really provides them an opportunity to gain access, right, to these professional development opportunities through our conferences, through the resources, even just the fun events that we host. One of my favorite events, unfortunately, this last year I was unable to attend, but we have the gala in December that is a fundraiser, but it's also just a fun time to like get dressed up and, connect again with other individuals that are in early childhood. And you get to bring your spouses and those kinds of things or friends and just, have a good time where you're not wearing jeans and a t-shirt because you're going to be playing in the sandbox or getting lunch on your clothes. You actually get to have some fun. So I just feel like the organization just really supports that professional growth for any early childhood professional, and it helps give us a voice, right, that really shapes the the young children's lives that we all are dedicated to and the families' lives that we're dedicated to.
Oh, absolutely. I completely agree. And I was going to say, I read the newsletters when Alicia sends them out, and then I get on social media and I get those reminders. So I can remember all of the upcoming events. But the Snowball Gala is one of my absolute favorites too. I'm not a dress up person. I'm very much a jeans and tennis shoes person. So the Snowball Gala is my opportunity to get dressed up and drag my husband along. Thanks
Same.
for reminding everybody about that, Angela. Um, so again, how do you guys hope to engage? I know I keep saying we. For those that don't know, I currently serve as secretary of NMAEYC, so I'm kind of at an advantage here and already know these lovely ladies. But how do you think we might engage members more deeply in our association's work?
I think the advantage that we have is that we do work virtually and in person. And so a lot of the back end work is done virtually, which gives that flexibility for voices across New Mexico to be heard and to be a part of the organization. But then, as we shared, we do have those conferences that are regional and in Albuquerque. For that in-person experience where that collaboration can really take place, the exchanging of ideas, just being in that creative space with others. I think we have a lot of things going on and always, can have help with committees and opportunities for members to share their stories and their expertise, right? Leading different initiatives. And, one thing that's really important to me again is just that connection and advocacy, and how important it really is to continue for our voices to be heard, basically. Yeah.
I think everything that Angela just mentioned. I think just for us, I think one word that Angela used that really kind of hit home for me is collaboration. Because we really do depend a lot on collaboration and partnerships in order to continue to and expand our member engagement. Without those partnerships or collaborations, I think we should be able to get a fraction of our work done. So, those are very valuable to us as an organization.
I agree. I came here from Montana and I really loved the NAEYC part of it, like getting to know everybody from around the state. So I got to go with Shara this year. She invited me. I got to be part of the Snowball Gala. It was a lot of fun and get to know people around the state of New Mexico. So with that in mind, what excites both of you the most about the future of early childhood education in New Mexico?
I think for me, it's it's the recognition of how critical our role is, right? Um, for many years, I think, our field was just kind of seen as like, oh, glorified babysitters, which for those of us that are in the field, we know it's just so much more, right? Like we're building brains, we're supporting families. It's not just about individual children, but really about the health and success of entire communities, right? And the communities that serve these young children. And so in New Mexico, obviously, we all know like that we're leading in early childhood, as we think about that increased investment that our state is placing in the field itself in the different sectors of how we support young children and families and educators, right? So there's really great momentum that are expanding opportunities for children and really, I think, working on building hopefully a more connected early childhood system, which we know is very complex. And so I think for me, I'm just inspired again, as I shared about the conference, just that energy that we all share, that dedication. It's just inspiring to be a part of that collective commitment to young children. It's just such a powerful thing.
Yeah, definitely to echo all of that. During this legislative session, I sat in and kind of listened to a lot of these legislative finance committee hearings where you heard professionals, early childhood professionals and advocates go before these legislators and explain to them, that this is not glorified babysitting, right? That early childhood is indeed education, and education even starts at birth and it continues. And I think that in New Mexico, and I cannot just say NMAEYC is taking credit for this. I mean, this has been a lot of work through decades of work amongst many early childhood organizations that have done the groundwork and the grassroots advocacy work to ensure that we have made great strides within the state and improving child outcomes. And I say that across the board, right? We're talking like even, the hunger and food insecurity into the classrooms and ensuring that a child is well fed in order to get an appropriate education. One thing translates to another. And so for me, I like to really look at the whole child and the whole child outcomes. And I think moving forward, I think that New Mexico is just going to continue to make great progress on this. And I really hope that it starts to translate into secondary education where we start seeing that outcomes.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing. And for those listeners that maybe aren't active participants in the New Mexico Association for the Education of Young Children, please visit our website, sign up to get the newsletters, join us at some events. We would love to see you there. And thank you both, Angela and Alicia, for joining us today. We appreciate you sharing your insights and helping everybody learn a little bit more about NMAEYC.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for inviting us.